Handling errors or knowing what type of error that is coming up on your computer matters a lot. Good day, my people. Welcome to day 8 of learning Python with data science. As a beautiful day is a nice day for us to endeavor into our Python challenge. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about error handling and also building the 4 simplest models in Python. So I'm not going to make the models so complicated that you're going to be lost. I'll just use bare minimum models that are simple, just using functions to build them. Next thing we're going to also talk about is error handling. So error handling, I'm going to explain what it is and what we use it for in the simplest one, because error handling, sometimes people don't really understand the concept behind error handling. So let's get down to the video. Error handling in Python is a way to manage and respond to problems or errors that can happen in your code. When something goes wrong in a program, like dividing by 0, trying to open a file that does not exist, or given the wrong type of input in Python, it can throw an error which can cause the program to crash if not handled. So there must be an error before you'll be able to handle that error. And some of you that are following this crash course yet, you've been encountering some errors. Errors can make you give up in Python. Some people don't understand that handling errors or knowing what type of error that is coming up on your computer matters a lot. What makes you a Python programmer or a data scientist or analyst is the ability to handle error. If you cannot handle error, you will have a big problem. Because some of you have seen so many errors coming up and you're like, oh, I'm no longer doing this anymore. I said this thing is not for me. Giving up is not the solution, but the solution is solving the problem. I'm going to show you the type of errors that happens in your computer. But with time, when those errors occur, you don't have to basically stress over it anymore, because so when it just happens, you just fix it quickly. Do you understand? But there are some that will happen that will take a lot of research, a lot of dedication before you can possibly face through that problem. Writing code is easy, but debugging, okay, you're done writing your code. Now run it. Let's see if it runs efficiently. Most part is for you to be able to fix your error. Debugging is part of the process. And me as your mentor, me as your teacher, I'll be able to guide you through. I said from the beginning, I care about you. Do you understand? So that is why I'm bringing out the solution to talk about the errors and how to handle the errors. So we're going to dive down to my PC and I'm going to give you an examples of errors that occur in whole Python environment and the real meaning on how to read and understand how it functions. So first of all, what I'm going to do is always save my file, which is day 8. Then we're talking about error handling like this. So bring this to the markdown and run it. So in the error handling now, I've already explained what error handling is. I've already defined it on what it is. So there must be an existing error. So we have the syntax error. The syntax error is one of them. So in this syntax error now, let's say we have something like if 5 is greater than 3, right? I remove this colon. Normally we are meant to add this colon, right? But let's say I didn't add this colon and I come here and I say print hello error like this. So watch, you can see what was the error that gave to me? Syntax what? Error. You say what? It's expected a colon. When it gives you an error, it's going to point the place that it wants you to make adjustments to. So you can see in this syntax error, you see it expected this colon to be in front of this 3, right? So if I come here and I add this colon here and I run this, you can see it prints a what? Error. So that is one of them, which is what? A syntax error. When you don't follow the rules and regulations that guides the Python environment, because if you don't follow it, that means you're not coding. If you can just come to this Python environment and write whatever you're writing, you're not basically coding here, you're just writing whatever. Everybody will be doing it. But what is difficult is the ability for you to now code, and Python will tell you, nah, this is not how you tell me to do things. I will tell you how to do things. Do you understand? The next is the type error. So here I will say type error. I want to say hello. plus 10. Watch what happens. So if I say, let's just make this a variable, right? So this should be A. Then we'll come here and say print A. Watch what happens. When this type error happens is when you're trying to add a different data type with another type of data type. So that's why you're seeing this type error. You can see can only concatenate string, not integers. Can you see that? So hello plus 10 cannot be added because hello is a string. That means you cannot add a string and an integer. Type error is when you're joining two different data types together, which is not possible. So I'm showing you guys the different error that you may be seeing soon, or you are already seeing in your whole Python program. So I'll come here and I'll call it name error like this. If I run this, I come here, I want to see how this name error works. So let's say we have something like B is 90, C is 20. Now I'll come here and say print A. What happens? Name error. Why is it giving me a name error? Because this particular A is not defined. Name error occurs when there is no variable name associated to that thing. Remember, a variable is used to store a particular thing. A is not here, but B, C is there. So what am I calling A? So it's going to give me what? A name error. That means the name is not correct. So whenever you see it, you have to check, oh, is this my A assigned to anything? If your A is not assigned to something, that is what? An error. So you have to fix that. So for me to fix this, all I just have to do is to put C and I run it. It gives me what? 20. For me to fix this other one, all I just have to do is neither I come here and remove this hello and add what? 20. So if I run this, you see all my errors have been what? Fixed. So the index error happens whenever you are using indexing. Are you following? So you have numbers, and in numbers we have a list like this. Now if we want to calculate this indexing, remember we always count to 0. So we say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 is the total index for this particular number, right? So now imagine and I say, oh, I want you to print index of numbers, and in that numbers I put 6 here. So now I want you to print 6. The index error means that list index out of range. That means the 6th index is not found inside of the list. So I have to make corrections to this particular word. Indexing is neither I come here and I put what? 5 to get 140, or I would add another number, let's say 89. And if I add 89, I can now what? Call the 6th index. Can you see? 89. It's as simple as that. So all your errors that you're blaming the computer is not the computer, it is you. It's coming from you. Yeah. So, and that's what I'm always saying. If you're having any issue with your errors, just make sure you just click on the Telegram. I'm always there to help. Now I've given you guys these errors and how you can handle them, but there's something else known as error handling to be specified. Do you understand? When you're writing a program and there are some, let me say, presumed error that may occur in your codes, you can add an error handling that will be able to solve that problem instead of your whole code to crash. When an error occurs, or exception as we call it, Python will normally stop and generate an error. When an error occurs, like when you're typing and you run your code, you see Python will generate an error message for you, maybe telling you name error, type error, whatever type of error is going to tell you, right? But there is something that makes Python bring out that code. They are known as exceptions. Let me break it down. Have you ever been to a site before when you're filling in your documents and you skip, let's say, a particular place that is important, things like your name or your surname, and you now want to click on login or register? Then you can see there's a message that will pop up and tell you, hey, there's a missing field required for you to fill. Exactly. So instead of that whole website to crash, there is something underneath that website that handles that error that a user will make. So that is just how the error handling works. So if you want to learn more in depth about all these things, are things that I can't put everything inside of these videos. But if you want to learn more about Python, there's going to be a link for you to learn one-on-one classes with me. You're just going to book your badges, and trust me, you'll be able to get more insight and more understanding of how these things work. There are 4 concepts for you to keep in mind whenever you are handling errors. We have the try, we have the except, we have the else, and we have the finally. Each of these keywords are used for specific things in Python, right? But I'm just going to talk about a few. I'm going to use the try, I'm going to use the except, and I'll probably use the else, right? Okay, because remember, we have to create our modules today, the 4 modules using Python. Okay, so but make errors your friend, right? If you make your worst enemy your friend, there's nothing for you to be scared about. So make errors your friend and you'll be successful in this field. So now let's quickly dive into this particular error handling. It's what we call the zero division error, right? Zero division means you're trying to divide something by 0, which is not possible, right? Let me give you an instance. Say A equals to 10 divided by 0. Now, if I say print A, you can see it gives me what? A zero division error. But now remember, this your code now has basically crashed. But if I don't want my code to crash, I'm now going to show you a better way for you to make your code not to crash, but instead give solution to the user. So if I come here now and I say try, you always start your error handling by what? Try. So try is just like you giving it like your def. Whenever you want to start your function, your def is just like the keyword to start a function. Do you understand? So when you use your try, you're basically telling your computer that, hey, I'm presuming that an error will occur in this code. So for me to avoid my code crashing, I want to what? Handle the error in the future. So let's say we have results equals to 10 divided by 0. Okay, so if I come here now, I'm going to bring an exception. Exception is ever you really presume that an error will occur. Like for me now, I know that zero division will occur. That means I already have this results divided by 0. Are you following? So now in this 0 now, I will basically say that an error will occur, right? So we have to now use the except to trigger that zero division. You can't just write, oh, it will occur, then this is what I want you to do. You have to call the name of that error using the except. So whenever you want to do that, you have to call what? Except first, like this. So except is what you want to put, right? We have different type of name errors. You can see zero division. You can see even the last one we did, name error, index error, type error, syntax error, right? You can see there are different type of name error that we have. So, but this one I'm already presuming is what? 10 divided by what? 0, which is not possible. So that is where I'm going to now call what? My zero division. So your Z should be capital letter, which is ZRO. Then you can click on tab. It's going to bring out what? The zero division error. Then you have to add a colon. Remember, the colon is you telling me that the next code is indebted inside of that function. So I'll come here and say, I want you to print a message for this user. Let's run this code and let's see what happens. So you can see, oops, cannot divide number by what? 0. This particular thing did not crash, right? You can see there's no this red thing here, right? Why is this particular thing not happening? Because I've already added an error handling that will tell the user that, hey, if this particular person wants to divide anything by 0, I can use a username, I can use an input function. Let's say this is an input function and someone wants to divide something by 0. It's going to basically tell the user you cannot divide this thing by 0, right? So now it didn't crash. My code didn't crash because I already have an exception inside of my code. If I say 2, you see nothing happens. So this is where I'm now going to bring the else. I'll say else, underneath it we'll say print results. And in front of the results, I will call the results. So run that. So you can see else result, which is 5.0. Are you following? So you have to basically specify whatever you want to do. What this else does is just basically, if there's no error, you should print out this particular code. So I've used the try, I've used the except, and I've used the what? Else. So that is how the error handling. In creating our module, the first thing we're going to do is to use a Python file. Remember in my first video, I told you that Jupyter Notebook is different from your whole Python IDE. So Jupyter Notebook, I said, is a GUI for data scientist or data analyst. Why Python in its own thing is different. We'll be able to create our module. We have to basically use the IDLE because that's the Python file that we have. Jupyter is not a Python software. You click on this one that have the IDLE. When you click on it, it's going to bring up a white background like this. Particular white place will run all your whole Python terminals, right? This is your Python terminal where your code is going to be running. The first thing you're going to do to create a file, you run your new file, then you keep this one aside. I want you to create 4 because you're working with 4 modules, simple modules, right? So you also come here and click on another one, which is 2. You can see we have another one. Then come here as well and click on new file, which is 3. Then also come here again and click on another file, which is now 4. So we now have different file that we want to use. So we're going to basically use all of them, right? So for some of them, we're just going to minimize it. So we have everything arranged here. So we're going to work with our first module and a quick module, a simple module, just to test it out and import it the way we import our modules later on in our Python file. Okay, so what we're going to do is save our Python file. I'll come to my file. This is your particular one that you open, this place that you're going to be writing your code. You click on the file, you go straight to save as. When this comes up, you're going to open your documents and you go to blue goes inside. Remember that file we created. Remember, look at the 2 Python files that we'll be doing so far. Then you're going to now say still day 8 arithmetic M, right? So arithmetic M means what? Module. So don't forget to add the extension name, which is what? .py. So you click on save. So you see, it now saves that particular one. So the first one is arithmetic M, which is arithmetic modules that we're going to work on. So we're going to have something like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We're going to create a module that whenever a user just inputs 2 parameters inside of a bracket and call in function or file from our module, it's going to either add that particular thing, subtract from those 2 numbers. And so the first one is function, which is def. Remember, whenever you're creating your function, is def. Then we're going to create the add. So the add, we want it to contain a by b, and the a by b, we want you to return something whenever you add it. So a plus b, this is what we want you to return. Then after that, we also want to create subtract, right? So let's call it subtract. Then in our subtract, we will also create a by b, and in the a by b, we'll also tell it what? To return a minus b. Divide, you call it div, right? De. Then in this one, we also have a by b. I'm going to give a condition. If b is equals to 0, I want you to return something like this. I want you to return can not divide number by 0. Can you see that? Then if not, I want you to return a divided by b. Psych. So that's that about the arithmetic module and how it functions. So we have the add, subtract, divide. What about multiply? So let's also add the multiplication. So say multiply. Then a by b. In the a by b, I want you to return a multiplied by b. So I'm done with the arithmetic module. This is the function that's inside of the arithmetic module. So let's see if it works. Remember, whenever you want to see if something works in your Python, you have to say print something. So I'll say print add. So let's see with the add and say 10 by 20. And we'll Control S. Don't forget, favorite guy, F5. So F5 will bring out what? 30. That means he added what? 10 by what? 30. So we'll come here, copy this guy, come to the next line, paste it, then change this guy to subtract. So we change this guy to subtract, and we come here and let's say subtract, okay, 10 by 20 as well. Control S, F5. You see, we have what? Minus 10. Exactly. So now let's see our favorite guy, which is what? Divide. So we'll paste this guy and we change the function name and we'll call what? Divide. And divide 10 by, let's see, 0, and let's see if that our function works. Control S, F5. So you can see, cannot divide number by 0. Come on, guys. Come on. This is crazy, bro. Like, come on, hit some like button. This is crazy. Like, how did I write this function that broke out that particular one, right? But let's see if it works if you put another number apart from 0. So let's say if we put 2 and we control S F5, and it gives you what? 5.0. And also add multiplication. I will call multiply, right? Control S F5, and it gives you what? 200. Wow. So our module is working perfectly. This module is working perfectly, which I've tested and I know that is working perfectly. So we're now going to go straight to the next module, the next guy. Remember, we had another file, so you can see the file that I open here. So open this other guy now, and we'll minimize this other guy. The name I'm going to give to it is the string module. So we're going to go to where our document is found. So Blue goes inside, and we're going to come here and say what? Day 8, then we'll say string M, like this. We add .py, click save. So you can see the 8 string M, which is the 8 string module. So now this string module, what I'm just going to be doing is, using the string methods that we have, which is the uppercase, the lowercase, and all those stuff, right? DEF, and I will say to lowercase. So to lowercase, I will open parentheses and I'll add what? A string method. After calling the string, then I'll say return the string, which is the parameter, dot lowercase. So add your parentheses. We're now going to go to the next guy, which is going to be DEF. Then we'll say what? We'll call it uppercase. So to uppercase, we also have a particular parameter, which is known as the string. And in the string, I'll come here and I'll say return. I'll say return string to uppercase. So add this guy there. So the next guy now we're going to add is, let's say we want it to count the words that are there. So we'll say count words. So count words will have the string. And in the string, I will come down here and I'll say return length. We'll say string dot split. So I'll say DEF reverse. So I'll say reverse words, and reverse words I will say string. In the string, I will come outside here and I will say return string into colon -1. So we use an index to basically just reverse the whole thing. So remember, we are creating our modules and we are seeing how these modules work. So that is that for the string module. So I'll control S and I save that particular one. We have to also check if this our particular module is working. So we'll come here and say print what? So we're going to call, let's say, to lowercase. So to lowercase. In the string, we'll add uppercase. Let's add hello. F5. So I have an error here. So this error, we have to fix it. So I think the mistake I'm making is the case, right? So it's not lowercase, instead is lower, and here also is upper. So let's correct that, and we'll come back here and try to save it and click on F5. You can see the hello has been converted to what? A lowercase. So copy this, come here, paste, Ctrl S, click on F5. You can see we now have hello. So let's Ctrl S, we'll click on F5. You see it gives us what? 8 words are found in that particular one. So let's count it. Blue goes is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We basically count each of the words that are there. Created a module that if I want to just find out the total words that are found in that list or in those particular words, all I just have to do is to call this particular thing, paste all the words inside, and I have a module that will basically calculate all the words for me. Wow. Leave a thumbs up. Come on, just leave a thumbs up. In print, I will also say reverse word. Ctrl S, F5. You can see it uses what? The reverse. And we have to now save this other guy. We have to now save it. So we'll come here and click on save as. So we'll come to the document. After we come to the document, we'll come to Blue Goes Inside. We already have 2 here. So we'll say day 8 dot, we'll call list. So we'll call it list calculation m, right? Dot py. First function for our list is going to be what? Find the max at the numbers. So in the numbers, we'll say return max, and we'll put the numbers. And in the numbers, we say if numbers, else none. The next one is def find mean. We say numbers, so we say return mean and numbers. If numbers, else none. Call it average calculation. The average calculation I will call numbers to be there. Then I'll say return sum of numbers divided by length of numbers. So now I will say def to remove duplicates, which is going to be the last one. Then in this duplicate, I'll add the numbers, and in the numbers I will come down here and I'll say return list set numbers. So let's test this our module out. So we'll come here and say print find max. So we have to add numbers inside. So say let's say 10, 11, 12, 20, 120, let's say 200. We say Ctrl S F5 and we'll have an error. So it takes one position but 6 were given. Yeah, so having this error is because you have to make sure that they are in list. So you come here and put in that list square bracket. So have the list square bracket like this. Okay, so let's Ctrl S it and see if it works. So yes, invalid. So yeah, we have to also add this other one. I removed it at first, so you have to add this one there. So Ctrl S F5. Yes, we have 200 is the highest there, right? So let's copy this guy like this and come here and paste. Let's look for the mean. So what does have to do is change this one to mean, then Ctrl S F5, and the minimum there is what? It's 10. Okay, what about the average? Paste it, change this one to the function name, change the function name to average calculation. Ctrl S F5, you see we have 62.166. Then what about duplicate? I paste it here and I want to be able to look for the duplicate. I come here, I'll call the RE underscore duplicate. Then let's say in this duplicate, let's add something like another pin at the back. Let's see if it's going to be able to remove it. Ctrl S F5, you see we now have what? Only 110 inside of it. It removed the duplicate that was found there. So we successfully created this module. So let's quickly go to the next guy, which is the last module. So you can see our 3 modules that we have created: the string module, the arithmetic, the list calculation module. So I'm going to create the last one, which is this one that is empty here. So it's going to be here. We'll go to save as, and we'll go to our document that we created, which is the Blue Goes Insight. And the Blue Goes Insight will say the 8 temperature converter like this .py. Save. Okay, so the things that we want to convert to is Celsius to Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit to Celsius, Celsius to Kelvin, Kelvin to Celsius, right? So that is what we're going to basically do right now. All the temperatures that we have. For some of us that did chemistry in school or in high school, will basically be used to all this particular thing already. So let's quickly look into them. we say Celsius to Fahrenheit. Remember our Celsius to Fahrenheit, I think in our last example that we gave when we were talking about function, I did an example using the Celsius. If you could remember, I said Celsius is Celsius multiplied by 9 divided by 5 plus 32. That is converting Celsius to Fahrenheit. What Fahrenheit to Celsius is Fahrenheit minus 32 times 5 divided by 9. Then Celsius to Kelvin will have Celsius plus 273.15. Then Kelvin to Celsius is Kelvin minus 273.15. I'm going to now convert this guy, which is Celsius multiplied by 9 divided by 5 plus 32. Fahrenheit to Celsius. So we have what we're going to take in here is going to be the Fahrenheit. So the Fahrenheit is going to be inside there. Then we'll say return. Remember the formula, which is the Fahrenheit. Now we have to basically be cautious of brackets. Remember, Python follows what is called BODMAS. So we have the BODMAS, which is brackets. We want Python to basically solve this one first before going to the next guy. So we'll come here, we'll also put the same thing, minus what? 32, then close the bracket, times 5 divided by 9. Celsius to Kelvin. So here, we'll add what? Celsius. So in the Celsius, we'll come here, tell it to return. This will be Celsius plus 273.15, right? So this is Celsius to Kelvin. So I think they are the same thing. So we'll just copy this like this and paste it here. We just change the function name, Kelvin to. So here will be what? The Kelvin. So the Kelvin minus 273.15. So we're going to come here and say print. We'll call the first one, which is. So let's say we have 40 degrees of Celsius and Ctrl S F5 converted it to what? Fahrenheit. So now I can also come here and copy this one, and let's see if the other one also works. So I'm not going to spend much time in this one. So we'll come here and check for the say Kelvin to Celsius. So in the Kelvin to Celsius, we'll add what? Let's say 32 degrees. Ctrl S F, converted to Celsius, which is minus 241. That means it is working perfectly. Okay, so we are done with our modules, our 4 modules that we've created. We are done with them. You see, 4 of them are there. So now we now have modules that we can now refer to. So I'm going to go back to our Jupyter notebook, and I'm going to show you how we can basically call them the way we call our normal modules, and see how we can implement them to our own kind of thing. Okay, so stay tuned. So we are here. Remember, we stopped at the error handling.
Smart sound.
Markdown. Run it. When we're creating our module, I told you guys to save it inside of your file directory. This one is the one we created with it, right? So you can see list calculation, arithmetic, string, and what temperature what converter. These are the 4 modules that we created, right? So now we want to basically import them into our Jupyter environment, and let's see if they work perfectly. So I'll come here, and the first thing I will say is to what? Import the first one, which is what? The arithmetic module, A8 arithmetic. So you have to spell it exactly how it's there. Arithmetic module. So arithmetic n. Print this guy that we have here, which is day 8 arithmetic n. We'll run it. You can see, so you have to have your directory. So always come here and say dir. Also have another directory and run it. So you can see all the file that we have inside and now out. You can see we have the addition, we have the divide, we have the multiply, and we have the subtract. So you can see it's beautiful, right? But the only thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to give it a name and you have to call it exactly the way you've created it. Okay, so let's see the other guy, which is the string. So the string, I'll come here and say import day 8, which is string n. So I'll call it string and come here to copy it like this. Control C, come down, say print. I want you to print the directory for what? String n. So we run it. You can see we have everything inside of the string. Remember when we were creating our own, we were basically doing it so that we can use it later on. We can see all these things now, remove them and Control S everything and come back here and run it. So you can see we have just the file. That's just the file. Remember, all these files are all Python code. So let's bring out this temperature converter. I'm going to remove this guy so it doesn't come out, just that way. So we'll come here and we'll say import the 8, and the 8, let's confirm the name, which is temperature underscore converter, which is temp underscore converter. dir, and dir. So you can see we have everything: Celsius to Fahrenheit, Celsius to Kelvin, Fahrenheit to Celsius, Kelvin to Celsius. So all these things are the modules that now I can basically bring them in. I can use them. And the last one is list calculation. Come here to save my time, paste, and I'll print it here, directory. In the directory, I paste it inside of here, and we run it. Okay, so they said there's no list calculation in there. There's a dot that was there, so I just checked it now. So if you check here, I'll zoom in here, you can see there's a dot in the list calculation. You can basically just rename the file, the list temperature, which is this one, and we'll come here and we'll say save as, and inside of here we just come here and remove that dot and click on save. You remove these dots. If you run it now, you see we have everything. So why we are having those things is because of the stuff that we have inside of it. So if I come to the list calculation and let's say I remove everything that we used to test it, Control S it, and come back here and run it. So you can see how everything is being implemented. I want to use the list calculation to calculate an average. All I just have to do is to say the 8. I've called the 8 list calculation dot average. So in the average calculation, remember it's going to be a list, right? If we run this, it's going to give us a name issue because this one is M, so you have to add the M there. So if you run it, you can see it gave us 96.0. So you can see how I'm using all this particular stuff and just implementing the parameters. Okay, so I can basically still copy this, and let's say we want to use it to find the maximum. Let's say I have a list. I'll just change this one to find underscore max. So Control S, no Control S, sorry. So just shift enter. The maximum there is 150. You can see we have 150. The same for the other ones that we have here, which is arithmetic, which is addition, and so many other ones that we have. So you can quickly check out the other ones that we created, count words, these string modules that we created. You can basically use the lowercase, the uppercase, and so on. So I will say day 8, then I'll call the string n. So I'll call the count words. So in the count words, so I'm going to put a string there, which is going to be, let's say, to run this, you can see it gives us we have 4 words that are there, which Google is the best. our modules have been created, and don't forget the last guy we talked about, which is error handling and how it's being used and how to implement it as well. So that will be all for this video. So any question, don't forget to hit on the Telegram link, and also make sure you hit me with the questions over there. So stay safe and stay profitable.
Smart Sound.